Aloha, I'm Lyla Berg, and we're here at Bishop Museum, ready to converse with the people who inform, inspire, and impact our daily lives. Thank you for joining us on Island Focus. What a fabulous building this is.
This is Hawaiian Hall, and I think this is what most people think of as Bishop Museum. It was constructed in 1900. It was opened to the public in 1903 after the entire interior was finished. And we like to think that this is our largest collection, artifact, or object because it's an irreplaceable, unique, historic building. So not only do you look around at the architecture of this space and see how beautiful it is and how amazing it is just to be in here, but the exhibits are second to none. They tell the story of Hawaii. They tell all different types of aspects of Hawaiian culture, traditional Hawaiian culture throughout the ages. Each floor has a different theme. And we've got, in addition to all of the refurbishment that got done here, the whale and the halepili are the old friends that are still here that everybody remembers from when they came here as a kid.
Well, there's literature and art and graphic art. I mean,
Absolutely.
It's just filled with so
and
much.
it isn't just the historic Hawaiian culture, it's coming up to today too. It's the things that have carried on in Hawaiian culture that we're still teaching people about, that we're still imparting to people today. It's a culture that has a past, and it's a culture that has a present.
And it's real.
And it certainly is real, and this is the preeminent place to come and learn about it.
With us today on Island Focus is Senator Stanley Chang. Thank you for joining us, Stanley.
Thank you, Lyla. It's great to be here.
So how has it been this first session?
It's been a great learning experience, and we've been working on a project that I'm really excited about. It's to bring a youth commission to bring young people a voice within the state policymaking process.
Well, you know, that's near and dear to my heart, of course.
I know.
What do you envision its function and its makeup, and how do you envision it working?
Well, we want to get young people from all the different islands of Hawaii together, ages 14 to 24 years old, appointed by the governor, the House Speaker, and the Senate President, and they get together and basically express the policy priorities of Hawaii's young people. You know, young people today don't have a voice because they're not allowed to vote. And if we just look at 16 and 17-year-olds in particular, they're allowed to drive, to work, pay taxes, to get married, but they're not allowed to vote and to have that official voice in the process.
They are allowed to register to vote, however, at 16 when they get their driver's license, or even when they don't get their driver's license.
That's right.
How do you envision the appointments happening? Because appointments are sometimes, you know, a little unobjective, shall I say.
Well, we have a great team of young people who are actually working on that language right now, and there have been a number of proposals, whether to do it whether to do it just by the governor, the Senate President, and the House Speaker, or even allowing the members to nominate their own successors and their own members.
Great. And so what other ideas that you have going on right now for you?
Well, the number one issue in East Honolulu, shouldn't surprise anyone, is homelessness. And so we need to do a lot more to address the homelessness crisis in East Honolulu.
Any thoughts on that?
This is one where there's no easy answer. You know, we need more housing, we need more resources for mental health, we need better ways for law enforcement and the homeless to interact. It's going to take a lot, but we got to start somewhere.
Well, and especially in East Oʻahu, we also have the beach access issues. Do you deal with that, or is that more city and county?
It's a big issue for both the state and the city and county. Right now it's very hot because there is a landowner who has, yet again, after many long history of doing so, blocked one of the Portlock beach accesses, and we've been working hard to try to keep all of our beaches open and safe for the public to access.
It's kind of exciting to be privy to not only the problems, but also the way the communities solve solutions, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's you know, it's interesting. The sausage making process is very different from what they teach in school, so it's definitely been a learning process.
I know I had a friend who said he wanted to get his refund for his political science degree. What do you find then, as a part of the learning process, is maybe one of the more enjoyable facets of your job?
You know, I think like with most things, I think policymaking ultimately comes down to relationships. And so just getting to know our colleagues, the folks in the community, and, you know, strategizing the best ways for people to work together, that's been really rewarding.
So if you had some parting thoughts in the last few minutes of this program, what might they be to the audience?
Oh, I want people to get involved. Whatever your issue is, whether you think youth should get more involved, whether it's climate change, whether it's homelessness, you know, the problem is that we don't have enough people who are passionate about the issues in their community, and I want everyone out there to register to vote, to get involved in a campaign. Think about running for office yourself, because there are so many issues out there and they're just not going to solve themselves.
And certainly to work with the elected officials to come up with some solutions.
That's right.
I want to thank you very much for taking the time to be with us today, and good luck on that youth commission.
Thanks, Lyla.
Thank you for being with us. We've been chatting with Senator Stanley Chang here at Bishop Museum in Honolulu. Mahalo for joining us. How fortunate we are today to have the opportunity to speak with Georja Skinner of Creative Industries. Creative Industries, that sounds like you.
Oh, well, I'm fortunate. I really have to say thank you for having me, Lyla. It really is I love this show. So informative and an honor to
creative.
be on, and creative too. You got it. But yeah, Creative Industries at the Department of Business, Economic Development and Tourism really oversees the development of all of our business side of the arts. So we're an advocate, and we help to accelerate the growth of all of our film, television, music, publishing, interactive media, all these industries, especially performing and visual arts, that are really important and integral to Hawaii's economic future.
That list you just gave oftentimes are separated in silos as professions or career areas, but you link them together as art.
Correct, under that umbrella of art, because art is essential not only for us as we develop as children, but also as wonderful careers for the future. There's 52,000 people in Hawaii, all islands, that are part of our creative industries, whether they're entrepreneurs or part of small businesses. And you know, these are like numbers, but there's people behind them, okay? It represents about $3.6 billion to our gross domestic product. So together they are stronger, and we want to weave them together as much as possible. For example, film industry, headed by our film commissioner, Donnie Dawson, very important part of our creative industries division, but it also integrates all aspects of the industries. So you have film that integrates with music, makeup people, they're all artists as part of our creative
Choreographers.
sectors. Yes, dancers.
Even the food providers.
Correct. So, you know, the impact of not only the location-based film industry, but where we're focusing a lot of our energies right now is on Creative Lab Hawaii and developing more opportunities for our local creative content developers. So in screenwriting, producing, music, interactive media, and animation. So
it's a fascinating conversation to have because you're a State Department.
yes.
And it's a bit of an oxymoron, isn't
Yes,
it?
that's correct. People go, what? In government? But there are at least 24 other creative industries offices throughout the United States.
So when you talk about developing the entrepreneurship and not just creativity, we're all creative in our own way, we just may not know it. When you are speaking about developing the business aspect of it, how does that work?
Well, right now, one good example is the Creative Lab program, because we're finding is that students that are coming through, let's say K through 12, and they love digital media, they love the drama, you know, or performing arts, music, but it seems like when they get to the college level, there isn't enough emphasis, I don't believe, on the navigation of business and the business that you need to protect your intellectual property or navigate yourself as an entrepreneur. Creative Lab answers that question. It enhances what's already being done at the college level, and what it does is empower you, just like a tech accelerator, to partner you with mentors from the entertainment and music industries that can help you advance your career in a very specific, well-rounded way, because the business part is so important to not lose your intellectual property. I mean, one good example is that perhaps in years past, if a musician really wanted to be on a certain label, but they couldn't afford the recording studio time. Of course, now we do it in our homes with our computers. Before, you would sort of be at risk if you allowed somebody else to produce that for you, because you may not wind up owning your publishing rights. So today is just an amazing time to not only have a creative industries division, but also for our creative entrepreneurs.
And it's wonderful that you're available so that people know they can have information and support. And
Yes.
your creative energy and your energy is very contagious.
Oh, thank
and
you.
I'm hoping some of the viewing audience will also know that they too can pursue their dreams.
Yes, absolutely. It's something that's critical. I think especially in the future when we're looking to develop an innovation economy, you can't have innovation without the creative inspiration.
Super. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, it's a pleasure.
We've had a creative conversation with Georja Skinner of Creative Industries. I have the pleasure of speaking today with Daryl Vincent, who is the Chief Operations Officer for the U.S. Vets, a nonprofit organization here in Hawaii. I didn't know that you existed.
Oh, yes, we've been actually in Hawaii for the last 14 years serving our nation's heroes, homeless and the non-homeless, to make sure that they're getting what they need after serving our country.
But help me understand what you do, actually.
Absolutely. We've been in existence across the nation for over 25 years, in Hawaii 14 years. And the bread and butter of what we do is we literally find homeless veterans in the community, wherever they may be congregating or living, and we help give assistance by giving them residential services, mental health services, substance abuse services, vocational training, and we do that in coordination with the Department of Veteran Affairs, Department of Labor. So for the last 14 years, we've had over 3,000 formerly homeless veterans go through our program, and our job is basically to get them into a permanent setting that they can economically sustain themselves.
And you have a large staff that assists with this?
Absolutely. At our Barbers Point site, we have over 50 staff people, and our programs can hold up to 100 people in the homeless program, and then we have a plethora of other programs that serve over 500 veterans that are living in their units and may need some assistance so they don't become homeless. Maybe they just need to find a job. Maybe they just need to be connected with resources. So we do in-house services and out-house services to serve all veterans, not just homeless veterans, but those getting out of the military and needing help with transition.
Some of us are quite dismayed at the increase in homelessness and houselessness. How do you identify who is a veteran and who isn't?
Yeah, we have an outreach team that actually works 24/7. When I say act, they can actually be accessed at least 24/7. Make a phone call, I'm a veteran, we can arrange what day and time to meet them or go to them, obviously. And what we do is simply ask the question, have you ever served in the military? Sometimes people associate the word veteran with somebody who retired or had to do 20 years or were in combat. So we ask the question, have you ever served in the military? They tell us yes or no. We're able to call the VA and verify their status. Literally can see a veteran today, have him in a bed tonight if he needed a place to stay.
And you also served in the military.
Yes, well, the military, the active duty military, we serve in terms of partnering with them when people are getting out. We try to make sure we integrate ourselves into that process of, you're about to get out of the military, here's some resources you can use, hopefully to prevent them from ever having to come to our program, but help them maybe with some vocational training or connecting them with a job in the community if they're going to stay here in Hawaii.
I think there's oftentimes a disconnect between professions. And you were in the military as well.
Correct.
There's a connection with what you're doing.
Yes, well, I was lucky enough. I went in the military and just did one enlistment. And when I got out, I decided I wanted to work in this field. So it was almost by accident. I became a social worker and ended up working with veterans and being a veteran. It wasn't a planned design. I'd love to say it was, but it was something
somebody's
that happened.
design.
Yes. So, you have to depend on what your career path is and wanting to translate some of your goals in the military, or maybe just get out of the military and go to school to do something totally different and use the great GI Bill that they're offering to make sure that you get your education and do what you want to do, whatever your passion is.
To be of service in such a profession that where there's risk involved and the unknown and change, and the consequences are oftentimes traumatic for the human being. How do you keep a positive spirit in this?
Well, I think the one thing that we learned to sell more than anything, for lack of a better word, is that really when you're helping homeless individuals or anyone that are in need of something, you're really instilling hope. And that's what it is. It's not a matter of how much you know. I want to know how much you care. And most of our staff, if all of our staff, it comes from a genuine passion of wanting to help individuals is why we get into this field. So we keep our chins up because we get to see the small successes every day that people don't even probably pay attention to. Someone just getting a job, someone completing treatment, someone deciding to cut their hair short because they want to go to an interview and dress in a shirt and tie. These are all minor successes that we count as big because they're all steps to a bigger future.
And even someone who agrees to have that bed tonight.
Absolutely, yes. Taking a step of asking for help, especially for military veterans, we're taught to just soldier up, men and women. Do not complain, do as you're told. So a lot of times it's a big step for them to say, I need help. And we teach that there's no shame in that.
Huge. Well, thank you very much. And your heart shows that you are not ashamed at all to say, I need help. Wonderful role model.
Absolutely. We're here just saying we want to make sure we help all homeless veterans, so the word veteran and homeless can never be used in the same sentence again.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
We've been chatting with Daryl Vincent, who is the Chief Operations Officer for the U.S. Vet.
This is Hawaiian Hall, and we really think that this is the iconic symbol that most people think of when you say Bishop Museum. And where we're standing in front of is the first part of Hawaiian Hall, which opened in 1891 to the public. Hawaiian Hall looks like one big building, but it's actually 3 separate buildings that were built connecting to each other over a period of about 10 years. The exterior of Hawaiian Hall is stone which was quarried right here on the grounds and formed and shaped here by workmen and then used to build these buildings. And in addition to these historic structures, we've also got newer structures. We've got the Science Learning Center, and of course we've got the planetarium. So in addition to the old buildings and the beautiful stonework and the stories that are inside those buildings, we're also telling newer stories, and we're telling things with newer technologies. So we're covering all different things for Hawaii and the Pacific, and we are telling these stories for people of all different ages, including a lot of things for families. So
And the old and the new merging together.
there you go, that's exactly right.
Today on Island Focus, I have the pleasure of speaking with Kimi Takizawa, who is with the Aloha Council Boy Scouts of America. What a wonderful role you have to play there.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
What is it that you actually do in the Boy Scouts?
Sure. So actually, I'm Director of Development and Marketing for Aloha Council Boy Scouts of America. So I actually am an employee of Aloha Council. So I help with fundraising and also marketing, getting the word out there about our Scouts and the really awesome work that they do. And my other role is actually I am a mom of 2 boys who are Scouts. So like you, I actually was the den leader of my son's pack, their den, for 5 years. So I kind of got looped into that role, and then I said, okay, after 3 years, we're gonna let the dads take over, and no one stepped up, so I had to keep on going. But it was really a wonderful experience, and now my boys are in Troop 777 with Central Union, and one's a Life, almost gonna be Eagle, and the other one is almost second class. We had to push them along a little bit, but they're really enjoying their experiences a lot.
I can tell you're very proud of your sons, and it speaks for also your joy of working with the Boy Scouts.
Yes.
You know, one of the things that we always wonder is why women are involved in the Boy Scouts, because it is about male leadership.
Yes, well, also, yes, it is about male leadership when it started. However, about 50 years ago, we actually are inclusive, and so we have a venturing program that includes girls. So if the girl is a teenager, 14 to 20, they can join this. It's a co-ed unit called Venturing, and really is for kind of the older boys and Boy Scouts who, you know, they've been with all boys at this point, and you know, we know teenagers, right, at that time, they want to explore. So it's a co-ed program where they focus on high adventure. They do a lot of outdoorsmanship, a lot of leadership classes.
Males and female, girls and boys together.
Exactly.
Wow.
It's amazing. And another co-ed program we have is called Sea Scouts. That was actually kind of founded by a leader in Hawaii, Kimo Austin Wilder. So, you know, it just shows the great leadership national Boy Scouts have had with Hawaii people. So back like in the early 1900s, because we started in 1910, he started this thing probably because we're in Hawaii surrounded by water called Sea Scouts. So we have an amazing Sea Scout ship out in Kauai, in Kauai Harbor. And one of the girls there, who's a great leader, she actually won a Heroism Award from the National Boy Scouts for rescuing a stranded motorboat. She actually threw them a line, and she single-handedly rowed them back to shore. So we have strong, great female leaders as well.
I love the fact that the Aloha spirit and who we are in Hawaii has been integrated into the Boy Scouts here.
So we're really, really proud and happy. This year we actually had Kurt Osaki of Osaki Creative. He designed us a very specific Aloha Council logo for it's called Shaka for Scouting. So he really uses expertise to design us this fresh new look that speaks to the relevancy of Scouting, right? Something that's kind of cool and fresh for the boys to wear, and also a sense of place, because we have Scouting in a very special place, which is Hawaii. So much outdoors and things to explore.
I wanted to be a den mother, and my son asked me not to. So if there's one parting thought we can share with mothers and fathers about Boy Scouts, what would that be?
Just join the adventure. I mean, now I really feel that Scouting is probably the most inclusive groups and programs that your son or daughter could join. We are very open to any type of leadership, any type of Scouts, transgender. We have amazing programs that the kids can join and really get them away from the media, like the gaming and on
technology.
Their phone, the technology. So it's terrific. And the bond that you get, as you know, as a mother of a son who went through the program, it's really special. And later on when they get older, the leadership and the development is just top-notch.
Yeah, and it's very subtle how that gets integrated into their character and personality.
Exactly. It's terrific. I was privy to actually be on staff for National Youth Leadership Training, which is a program higher end for the older boys. They spend a week up at Pupukea, and the leadership skills that they learn is just the growth in that 1 week is amazing. So I really invite, and girls are there too, so I really invite anyone from the little kindergarten line Scouts to older kids venturing in Boy Scouts to please give Scouting a try.
Well, with your energy, I'm sure the audience will be hearing that. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for inviting us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. We've been chatting with Kimi Takizawa with the Aloha Council Boy Scouts of America. Thank you for being with us. Mahalo for tuning in to Island Focus and joining me in the conversation with Daniel Alexander of the Hawaii Bicycling League. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
We were talking a little earlier, and every time you talk about bicycling, you smile. It's a very emotional subject, even in our streets these days.
What we find when people get back on a bike for a while, it returns them to childhood. They can't help but smile when you're gliding through the air in that way. It really is a magical thing, I think. And increasingly adults are turning to it as a commuting mode, as a way to get to the store, to the beach, and also exercise.
Yes, the phrase, it's just like riding a bike, that we remember it. Many people have wonderful experiences as children, but now with bicycles on the road, it's sometimes not a very comfortable experience.
Yeah, sharing the road. Not all our roads are that well designed to make it easy to share, so it requires attentiveness, patience on the part of both the drivers and the bicyclists. And we do a lot of education around that, both of a bicyclist and motorist, because the fact is we have to share what we have out there.
And it's a big transition for Hawaii.
Yeah.
Those bicycles that are out there now that you can rent, is that part of your league's mission?
So you're talking about the Bicky bikes, which is the bike share system around urban Honolulu. So it's not my organization, it's a different nonprofit that's running it. But we have been partnering with them on educational efforts. So we've been doing this series of workshops where people that haven't ridden in a long time can come out and ride with us and get feeling comfortable out on our streets and in our bike lanes.
It's interesting because those bikes are all over the world, in Prague and Paris and London, New York. The transition in Hawaii might have been a little bit more difficult. But your league has been doing a lot to bring joy back to people's lives.
I think we've adopted it pretty fast. It's only been in place for a few months, and it's already getting a ton of ridership, and not just tourists, but also a lot of local folks. I'm really pleasantly stunned by the amount of people that you make the bike readily available, and they're now cycling out to, workers are going to lunches on bikes, that sort of thing. Yeah, I think the thing is, though, we really need to build more bike lanes, more infrastructure, because we hear from people all the time they would like to bike more, but they don't feel safe sharing the road. So I think things like what we've done on King Street with a protected bike lane, there's been some contention around it, but on the whole, as a safety perspective and an increase in getting people out riding, and what we've heard from people and how they sense it in terms of their safety, it's been definitely a big step forward.
Well, it's all about change as well. And I know that you also sponsor a number of different events in the state.
So, you know, we work in 3 different areas. So advocacy, so more bike lanes, education, so from youth all the way to adults, and then events. And that's designed to get people having fun, out riding. There's no better way than when you're in a group, when you feel safer, but also it makes it more fun. So we do large rides like the Honolulu Century Ride, and it's not only a great day to ride, but it's also a major fundraiser to support our other activities.
I did that once a while ago, and actually only out to Sandy Beach, and it was actually quite fun to be with a lot of people and a lot of children that bring the joy.
Yeah, so about 2,000 people participate somewhere around on an annual basis, and it's all ages. So yeah, children be accompanied by adults, but you know, it's a really safe day to ride. We have a lot of police presence helping at intersections and just keeping it as safe as possible.
It's sort of a celebration of living in Hawaii as well.
So we go along the windward coast, so it goes from Kapilani Park, one of our gems, and it goes up to Ka'ava, Swansea Beach Park, and you see some of the most beautiful scenery. I mean, the reality of where we live and just being out, I mean, that's one of the beauties of being on a bike is you get to appreciate our elements and all the beauty of this place in a way that's a little bit harder when you're in a car.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. You know, the Hawaii Bicycling League is very important, not only for the traffic education, but also to bring joy back in our hearts. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me and covering this topic. And I hope we'll get more people out cycling and having fun. And we're there to support.
Thank you. We've been chatting with Daniel Alexander of the Hawaii Bicycling League. Thank you for joining us. Like every place in Bishop Museum, this is also special.
This is very special. It used to be called Polynesian Hall. It's now called Pacific Hall. We're telling the story of the entire Pacific in this exhibit space. And this also, as the rest of Hawaiian Hall, was restored and refurbished. We installed this wonderful floor map that we're walking on right now, which is a map of the Pacific Ocean that shows you the places we're talking about. These are cultures throughout the Pacific. We're talking about the cultures, we're talking about how the people got to these different places because they journeyed throughout the Pacific. It's part of the same stuff that we're talking about in our Holo Moana exhibit. This is larger than that and discussing it in greater detail.
The metaphor and the concept of voyaging.
Yes, exactly, because we have physical voyaging and we have voyaging in other types of ways, spiritual ways, and the ways that people are connected in the Pacific, the ways that people are unique in the Pacific. That's what we're talking about here in Pacific Hall.
Mahalo to Bishop Museum for hosting us and to you for tuning in to Island Focus. I'm Lyla Berg. Aloha and malama pono. Take care of each other. See you soon.